Peace and black power, everybody. I want to welcome you to another NCRBGZ Productions on this beautiful night right here. We got a nice show set up for the family. We're just gonna, sit down and have a conversation. Remember, like I always say, please like the video, thumb up the video, subscribe to the YouTube page. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And with that being said, tonight we want to talk about the meaning of death. That's what we actually want to talk about tonight. We want to talk about the meaning of death, define death from an African perspective, compared to a European perspective, and see if there's any differences between the two. We want to dive into this conversation so we can, get a better understanding of death, so we can move forward. With that being said, I want to give my panel members the opportunity to introduce themselves to the family. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We salute y'all queens for holding us down, and without y'all, we wouldn't be here, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And with that being said, I'm going to give everybody the opportunity to introduce themselves to the family.
All right, so Rahul Bad, everybody. Peace, everybody. My name is Nabat Kafefreye Amunreye. I'm a student teacher out of Philadelphia. Just glad to be a part of the panel tonight and look forward to the discussion.
Rahul Bad. Peace. This is Neb Unk. This is a brother from around the way. I'm here to learn. It's not one of my bigger topics, but I'm here to learn. I'm being patient. I'm be studious. I'm just here to learn. I'm humble myself. I'm trying to learn the most I can learn.
Okay, peace. This is Master You. I came in a little late. I'm not sure what we're talking about, but this is definitely here to come and show some support. Yeah, that's it.
Sean from Minnesota, just here to conversate and listen and see what we can take from and input better to move us forth, as people.
I want to thank all the panel members for taking their time out, their busy schedule, to join us today. And to talk about this conversation that we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about death and what kind of brought this conversation up. What kind of brought the conversation up is, we all been paying attention to social in the world, in the media circus, and it seems like, a lot of things are happening to members of the Black community, whether it's Black on Black crime, whether it's, Caucasian people that's definitely to whether it's just the regular same old police that's always have been a terrorist and have invaded our communities and constantly is terrorizing us, to whether the coronavirus is killing us. But it seems like it's a lot going on. So today, I just wanted to build with the brothers and talk about death and, just to ask some questions to see if we can get some insight, so with that, what I want to do, I want to ask everybody, what is your concept of death? And that's the first question. I want everybody to jump in. I want everybody to tackle that from our perspective, or you can talk about different culture, but traditionally, what is your definition of death? What do you think death entails? So I will be the first to tell y'all what I think death entails. Always as a kid from growing up, the first concept of death is what you've been taught, depending on what school of knowledge you was raised in. If you was raised in the church, you believe that when you die, your body goes back to the earth and your soul may go to heaven or hell, depending on how you have lived your life. So with that being said, so one thing, speaking, can I get you to mute your mic, please? One of the main things is when you think of death, you always be told that, depending on if you make it to Jesus accept you back home or not, you're either gonna live in heaven or you're gonna live in hell. And they always say internally, meaning you're gonna be there forever. So, you know, that's one thought process that I got when I looked into the Sunni Muslim faith when I was in the military. So I was a Muslim, and you know, they believe in paradise, similar that you're gonna be in either, you know, heaven or hell, but you're gonna be there forever. That's different schools of thoughts, you know, that I have been through. I've been in the nation, God's and earth, for a small period of time. Actually, that was my foundation in high school. And, you know, you believe that, you know, as far as death is concerned, that it's never lost, nor energy is never lost. So it just transforms. So it just moves on. So, you know, what I've been thinking of death, that's what I have been taught. You know, but through my studies, I have get different definitions of death. And I just want to give y'all opportunity to jump in, kind of like, let's get warmed up. And, you know, each person, your definition of death. What do you believe death is? What does that entail? You know, each person can take their own time to answer that question. You know, you got for 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you to pass the mic.
I'm going to go get here first then, because I ain't long-winded, you know that. I'm just, like I said, I'm here to learn. I feel like nobody really knows what's after this life here. We spiritual beings, I know that much. And we don't know, but then again, somebody might get some more information, you know. I think it's gonna be a good conversation tonight. And especially when you talk about the fear of dying. We're damn sure scared of everything, you know, especially death. But that's all I gotta say about that. Thanks, Sin, for coming in, Sin. Sin, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you for joining us.
Problem.
Okay. I'm done, Stuart. Next person speak.
Is anybody else on?
Hey, Queen, how you doing? What it is, everybody has their mic muted, and what we do is we allow one person to speak at a time. And what we're doing, we're talking about death, and what is your perception of death, name of the show that we have in the day. So since I have given everybody the opportunity to introduce themselves. So if you would like to, Queen, you can unmute your mic, you can introduce yourself to the family, tell us who you are, you know, and then you can answer that question if you would like, and then if you feel at home and be compelled to come again.
Hi, my name is Sin Antis. I really don't have an answer to that particular question. I just feel like we don't know what's next after the physical death. I do believe that matter, and I'm kind of gearing towards like reincarnation. I kind of believe that you're here on earth to serve a certain purpose, and if you do not fulfill that purpose, then you have to try again. I believe this life here is our hell. I don't believe in the biblical sense of hell. That's really all I have on that.
Thanks.
Okay, peace. This is Master U. I'm getting here, Stuart. I didn't know you was a god at one point in time, Stuart. What was your righteous name, brother? Stuart, can you hear me? Or no?
It was Victorious God Allah.
Victorious God Allah. Okay, that's peace, man. Okay. Nevertheless, again, this is Master U. I'll give you my whole perception of death. Death is that which is opposite of life. Like if I look at a living being, the cells and stuff in it is moving, they're vibrant, they're alive, and something is death. But as Stuart said, alluded to, I'm gonna start using some of the supreme alphabet in it. But our second letter supreme in the supreme alphabet, we said that. I don't know. But the second letter of supreme alphabet to any realm or any physicality, it has to already be. It's already in existence. And some people don't believe in that, but dealing with any type of science is true because we're looking at the first law of thermodynamics. It can only be transferred from one object to another. So therefore, the energy that housed your body, the suit of it, before your body housed that suit of energy, it was already in existence. So when you pass away, the question is, where does that energy go? If I just use what's like naturally, if I take an apple and the apple is alive, and I take the apple and I set it on the ground, what the apple's gonna do is gonna decompose and return to the earth. And then like worm does, and then whatever this animal does, pretty much it goes to the chain again to where the apple is somehow reborn. And maybe this time that apple may not be a red apple, maybe a green apple, or it may not be born in the exact same place. But that so when I look at death, I look at death the way that some people view it as, you go to hell and be burnt, or you can go to heaven and sit down with God and got gold-plated street energy. This is all it is. It's energy. And if you study like science, especially the science of the brain, the way that neuroscientists determine if someone has any type of brain activity, they look for electromagnetic frequencies or waves. That is energy. They look for Kemetic laws. The first law of Kemetic, the axiom of Tahuti. The first axiom, if I'm not mistaken, is the law of mentalism. And it said pretty much anything you see in the physical realm first existed within the mind. And it goes back to the supreme alphabet or be or born. All this stuff exists. Understand where that place is here on this natural realm of earth. A piece of you know where that place is. And so I believe you just return there. And then what after that, I have no idea because that's something I've yet to experience. But anyway, Def, I hope that answers the question.
All right, family. Yeah, so it's our brother in the back. This can be a drawn out conversation because there's many dynamics to what we know as death, or what we speak of as death. In our culture, we understood that there were many avenues to death. We understood that death was simply a door of a transition from this life to another form of life, or to a higher form of life or existence. With that being said, we understood that, in certain cases, you had dynamics of reincarnation where a soul or spirit of an individual would reincarnate. But there were other instances, depending on the frequency of the death and, let's say, the accomplishments of that individual in their life would also determine other avenues that the soul takes in the afterlife. So, let's say, for example, you have the etheric plane, where there is no physical substance. And if the soul and the spirit is able to attain these accomplishments of the physical life, then there's no need for the soul and the spirit to reincarnate onto the physical plane. So at that point, the soul takes a different path as opposed to reincarnating as a physical being. The soul goes towards the etheric realm. So in essence, scientifically, this can be understood as the law of vibration. This is also what, I'm glad the brother Master, these all play a part. And so the plane of frequency and vibration explains that all things come from ether, or start out as a gaseous form, a form of ether. And that, we slow up in vibration and become physical. So we all came into this physical realm as physical beings from the etheric realm, where we're constantly reincarnating from life to life until we're able to attain these particular accomplishments of vibrating on a higher frequency, so that we can return to that etheric realm. I'm hoping that this all, that this is making the soul and the spirit can take. The ultimate, as our master teacher, or as our culture, our ancient sciences explain, would be to return to the all, or the eternal blackness, we would refer to it, the etheric realm. And this is no longer having attachments to the physical, but still having a connection with it by way of inspiration. So this doesn't mean that who have souls and who have spirits who have elevated to these higher planes of ether, or the etheric realm, are still connected to us by way of ether, right? Which is present on this physical side in our blood and in our DNA. So we are still linked to these beings on the other side, and they are still able to assist and help us by way of these energetic forces. You see what I'm saying? And all of this is put into practice by, and that's what our culture is referred to, Usabat. So in this practice, we begin to understand the different dynamics of life and death. And in ancient Egypt, our ancestors understood these different dynamics. They understood that some would return physically and reincarnate, and others would evolve to a higher state of existence, or not.
Peace. This is True Born. We got an interesting talk right here about death. I come up in the nation of gods and earth, you know what I'm saying? And from what I was taught from the nation of gods and earth, we came from the stars, because of you see how we break down our universal flag, you know what I'm saying? The understanding, which is the star, that's the child. And mother and father is the seventh father, and crescent is the woman. And what I'm saying, all that comes from the universe. And my thing with this Egypt thing, is I was getting, what I'm saying, that's where we came from, the universe. And when we came from the universe, we was a soul or a spirit, however you might call it. But we came down here to this physical plane, and you're saying death. To me, there is no death. You know what I'm saying? Because this physical plane, we got kind of, you know what I'm saying, misconstrued of things, you know what I mean? Since we got so far away from our spirituality, we fear this thing called death, which do not exist. Because if we are spirits and then we get transitioned, we going back into that spirit world. So to say thing death, I don't believe death is something that exists, because we live on. And you know what I'm saying, a little of my teachings, what I was getting from the Nation of Islam, you know what I'm saying, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said we are a dead people. And in a way I do believe that, you know what I'm saying, because we have to get knowledge of self. And when we get knowledge of self, you know what I'm saying, this frees us from, you know what I'm saying, what we was tricked and lied to, because we got far away from our teachings of spirituality. So if you want to say something about death while we on this physical realm, I believe we did right now. And we just reviving ourselves right now from gaining knowledge, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to say peace, and I'm going to pass it on. This is Brother Trueborn.
Hey, Trueborn, you said a mouthful, and you said something that I got to be quiet, but I'm going to elaborate on. You don't understand. You said a mouthful at the end to me, and I really want to elaborate on that. Everybody, go ahead. I see we have who done came. Julie done came in. Denton. I hope I said your name right, bro. And what we're doing is we tackling the conversation of death. We allowing everybody to elaborate on, you know, what's their concept of death. What do you believe? If death is even, like Trueborn said, we may not even need to use the word death. But what is your concept of the afterlife, or what is your concept of when your body decays to hold your soul no longer? You know, what is y'all concept of that? Now I just want to give everybody opportunity to have their piece, so y'all can mute y'all mic if you haven't said that, and you know, let everybody know who you are, where you from, and y'all can jump right in.
Peace. My name is Denton Reye. I'm also a student teacher of Dr. Malachi Z. York. So from the teachings of Dr. Malachi Z. York, he has, from what I've seen and studied, is that he has elaborately explained the experience of life after death and what happens to the spirit and the soul when it transitions. So there's so many different processes in terms of what they call the transmigration of the soul, that it's all dependent upon a person's genes or genetics, and how that person lived their life, and whether they lost their soul while they were still living, or whether their soul was still intact at the point of death. So there's a couple of books that, you know, Bobby Anoon has written. I don't want to be too long-winded, but it just all depends on how that person lived their life. So there's a difference between soul and spirit. And he explained that spirit is nothing but the shell of the soul, and the spirit more so relates to the material realm, whereas the soul is the invisible source of life. That is pretty much, there's two different parts of it. So in other words, the soul that is born first, when a person is first born, is basically, now that's not the soul in terms of which existed before you were born. That's only a certain soul, what they call the Ruwah. And then you have the Ba, which they talked about in Egypt, which is the supreme soul that existed before birth. And that's the soul that is that transmigrates after death. And that's what goes through the etheric planes. And so when a person dies, their soul and spirit separate, and for a period of 6 days, the person exists as an etheric being. And if that person has gone through certain wants and desires and have visited their loved ones on the other side, according to how they lived their life, the soul and spirit would then unite, and then it would propel them past the planes. And so, you know, he wrote a whole entire diagram called the 9 planes of death, what we call the 9 gates of it. And to pretty much, it's just talking about how the soul relates to eternal life. So in this particular case, like the brother Trueborn was saying, you know, when he says, well, yeah, this is considered to be death. And that's pretty much true. The fact that physical birth, because real life is considered to be the etheric side, or the etheric life after death. So the thing is that, like the brother in the back was saying, and everybody pretty much touched on a lot of good points, It's just putting it all together in a collective. So it's really more so of that you have to understand genetics. If you don't understand how genes function and work and how the planet is related to a certain matrix, and that matrix relates to number 24, then it's harder or more difficult, dies and reincarnates into a different body, life after life after life. So I'm just going to leave it at that point. Leave it at there and then pass the mic.
Yeah, we're gonna get more into that.
Have everybody had the opportunity to speak? All right, if so, I guess we'll wait for the second go round. But I just want to veg back on what everybody else been saying, and it seems like we all are basically all on the same accord as far as the energy never leaves. But I did have a Denton and True Born really touched on something, because I have a concept that we're actually experiencing death from the time we're born until the time that we leave this plane, that we're experiencing death, not actually living. And I say that because no matter what school of thought you have, you believe that you live on after this. So after whatever, now I'm gonna put this, don't nobody know, put this disclaimer out there. Like Ned Bonk said, don't nobody really know, I would say that. Just honestly speaking, I don't know, because I haven't died and came back. But I can go off some of the teachings and some of the interactions I've had with people that have had near-death experiences, meaning that they have technically died, but they came back because it wasn't time. And field, if y'all don't know it, so I deal with a lot of older people. So when you have them conversations with them, they would tell you that it was times that they was chasing a light. And they said that it's like it was a train. And this is multiple accounts, but the stories are different, but they're all talking about this light. And one lady in particular told me that she was chasing a train and she was trying her best to catch up with that light, but she could not catch up with the light, and she came back. But what she told me was that she was so peaceful and that she really wanted to catch that light, but she couldn't catch it. So by her not being able to catch the light, she returned back. She said, so she woke up and, I just want for you to go yet, but I do believe that we all come from matter, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. I believe that it's a source of energy that we come from. And I do believe that once you have completed your purpose, because we all have a purpose, and it's up to us to find our purpose and execute our purpose. And once you have executed your purpose, I do believe that you return back to the center, just like the Matrix. Like, we all have something here for a purpose. But if we do not complete our purpose, we be regenerated to come back, to do it all over again until we complete our purpose. So we're actually experiencing death. Because, like, to me, birth and death are both aspects of life. You can't have life unless you're born and then you die, right? So is this really life or is it really death? Like, what is this really that we're experiencing now? Are we really experiencing life, or are we really experiencing a form of death? Or are we experiencing both? Are we experiencing a form of life as far as on the material world, on this plane, on this earth, but actually we're dying at the same time? Like, I'm just asking a question. What do y'all think?
Keep it short. I believe we definitely going through a lesson, man. If we can all agree on that one day, we definitely it's a lesson. We learn a bunch of lessons, man. And then you think about the deja vu, and you think about the karma. So the reincarnation thing, man, definitely it's a big yes. If you want to think about it, I mean, even though, like I said before, we don't know what's after. Personally, we don't know. We can read all the books. We can mummify all the bodies. You know what I mean? We don't know what's after, but we know with spirit we're going back somewhere. But that's all I got to say about that right there, man.
Yeah, you know, you might be true on that. You know what I mean? We don't know, you know what I'm saying, where we going. But regardless to the fact, you know what I'm saying, whether we want to believe it or not, you know what I'm saying, like I was saying, we came from the spirit world, you know what I mean, and we will return back to that. This body is like a temporary thing for us, you know what I mean? And on this plane, we all experience life and death, you know what I'm saying? Because all of us know, you know what I'm saying, as we know from what we was deceived of, I would say the Caucasian race, you know what I'm saying, they feared what they did not know, you know what I'm saying? So we living out the same life what they live, you know what I'm saying? And that's why we have this what we call death, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't think our ancestors knew anything about death. All they knew was about life, you know what I'm saying? We came on this world and we're gonna leave this body, but when we leave this body, we're still gonna be living. You know what I'm saying? This is what I get teaching from the ancient ancestors. So, I mean, I can't make you understand it or know it, you know, but if you actually go through teachings and studies, you know what I'm saying, about ancient ancestors and what they taught and what they've been through, you should understand, you know what I'm saying, it was a thing of death, you know what I'm saying? Everything was about life, living.
You're right. I got you on that one. Because I know you mentioned the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which I really respect. He said one thing that I was going along with for a long time, you know. But then I thought about the crap and I said, no, you're wrong on that one. But he said, when you die, that's it. You know what I mean? He said it many times, when you die, that's it, right? But he did say one thing, we live in hell or earth. Like the sister said, you know, Queen Sin said. So that's a fact. But when we die, that's just it. You know what I mean? That's what he said. I do believe the spirit world out there. We come from the stars. You know, we talked about that before. So I do go along with that, Trueborn.
Well, I wanted to give some more details on our perspective and the ancient Egyptian perspective as far as the afterlife. Because one thing we know is that our ancient cultures focus more on the afterlife than this one. The culture, everything revolving around the culture dealt with eternal life, and that eternal life was attached to the afterlife as opposed to this physical, carnal, and temporary life, which our ancestors knew, contrasted to the real form of existence. So, like the brother was stating earlier, this physical life is more considered like death, and the afterlife is real life. That's true existence. That's true living, because it doesn't deal with decay. The moment you're born, you begin to decay. Your cells are automatically begin to age based on the telomeres. There's something called telomeres that are found at the tips of your chromosomes that determine how long you're supposed to live. And like the brother Dentop was stating earlier, all of this is plays in line with the DNA and the genetics. So these telomeres determine how long each individual person is supposed to live before you're even born, based on that. So you're already predetermined to expire at a particular point in time. We recognize the contrast of this physical existence as opposed to, like we stated, the existence of the soul and the existence of the spirit, which predates this physical existence and will continue to exist after. But I wanted to give some quick details after we come back around on exactly what happens to the soul. And
This Matthew, I want to hit on something really quick. I have a book upstairs. I got a lot of books, but I got a book that's called The Metal Netta, Volume 2. And I think the guy, I can't remember the author's name, but it goes and talk about the Kemetic initiation system. And some of you may be asking, why would a God go and study something like that? But you got to understand, we start dealing with 120. We do a 120 knowledge, 120 wisdom, 120 understanding. That gives you a complete circle of information. So all we do is constantly study, and to always do the knowledge. So we always study. But in that book, it says something in that book, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't quote it. God that they were referring to, but there was a name for God. And basically God existed in the waters of Nu. And waters of Nu is, basically is like a water-like substance. And out of that substance, what God did, or whatever you want to call it, it spoke itself into being, and it gave itself a form. And so, like, piggybacking off of what a lot of Brother Stewart or Brother Nabat talked about, like, we're all matter. And sometimes there are pieces of matter that are so small that you can't see it. Get what I'm saying? But in this water of new was actual water, but God in it was formless. And what God did was speak itself out of those waters and begin to give itself shape. Now, just follow me as I go through this. Now, if we think about a baby being out of the waters of new of a woman, right? And the moment that baby lives, then what happens? I'm sorry, as you all are saying, the moment that baby bursts itself into this physical world, the baby begins to do what? It lives, right? And as some of you all said, when we come to this physical world, at that point, we begin to die or whatever it is. But I have like a different point of view of it. The same reason I believed in that book, why that God came out of the water, was to have an experience. And as the brother Nabat was saying, like, we already have certain things predetermined. I think, I'm not saying we come to this physical plane of earth here to die, but I believe, it's just a belief, to see what it's like. And then once we experience it for however long it is, we return back to whatever that essence is. And I think we go experience something else because we already experienced this particular life and in that particular perspective. Does that make sense what I'm saying or no? Or am I kind of losing you all?
Hey,
Perfect sense.
It makes sense
a
or
lot
no?
of sense, man, because like we said about the bot, we're talking about the Nemo situation, right? The water.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
got fish,
Right.
we got fish, but the water, everything has life is water.
Right. Yeah. And if you all study like comedic science, it'll tell you to like spirituality, because water, it can take the shape of anything. So like your spirit can become anything. And so if you look at yourself as anything that you wanted to, given enough time, like imagine you had 1,000 years to live, the things that you could accomplish. You dig what I'm saying? Imagine if you could reborn yourself over it with that particular power into a place. So basically all I'm saying, basically what the I think Brother Nabat was talking, all you kind of talk about it. Basically, we're all basically saying the same thing. We're all pretty much in it. Kind of may go over some people's head, but I have no other way of breaking it down to try to make anybody understand. But yeah, that's
Master, what you're saying is right in exact, bro. And brother Kame, I may be saying his name wrong, but he always say that we are gods having a lot of sense. And I just wanted to add that he always says that we are gods having a human experience. So you right on.
Right. And I'm glad he brought up the reference about the waters of Nun, because that actually refers to on the physical plane, it refers to, like he spoke about, the early waters of life years ago was contained of, very small forms of bacteria, very small forms of protozoa, right? Early forms of life form that eventually took the larger form that we see today. But we know that all physical form of life starts out on ether, and then it slows up into what we know as gas, beginning with hydrogen. Hydrogen is a gas, first element on the periodic table. So everything on the physical, and then slows up in vibration to become a liquid, and slows up even further to become a solid, like we're physical solid beings. But all life starts out in those different stages, from the etheric plane first, onto the physical plane as hydrogen, onto liquid, and then onto solids. But I wanted to read and give some details from a scroll our master teacher spoke about exactly what happens to the soul. He says in a scroll here called The Spiritual You After the Physical You Dies. In verse 23, he says, "Know and Tahum, overstand this. When a person Mawut dies, that same Garut, night, shadow hour, between 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m., their Kah, spirit, is taken to the gateway to cross over. There they will meet and be Rahuba, greeted by Nasabu, relatives who have passed. Some they may have never met in this life." 24. They will welcome them. Then comes the choice to Dakul, enter the pale white light, to Rajuh, return to the same life if an accident or a new Dawar cycle, or be allowed as a Ka spirit to visit a person still alive for up to 60 days. Our to be Shawufa seen, others only Shamuh heard, and others only Shaura felt. 25. Then after 60 Zamutat days, again, they must enter that gate at the exact time between 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. to start their orientation as a Kah Mukwan, spirit being, if they are not to return. 26. When that gate Tatuh opens each shadow hour at 3 a.m., many spirits, specters, and ghosts force their way across and into this physical realm to haunt. Some become trapped, others cross back over to start their judgment. As you are not Danuna judged for your actions while alive, you will be Danuna judged for your action and intentions while Hayu alive. Does that make sense? So this is just one path And it doesn't explain exactly what happens to the soul and the spirit in every case, because as we explained earlier, some forms are reincarnation, where a spirit, if it didn't attain certain things, has to experience life, and it has to attain these many things in order to pass on to the higher realm or go back to a form of ether, as we spoke about earlier. But yeah, I just wanted to go, give one of those details of what happens to the soul initially when it crosses over. We can get more.
Yeah, that's peace there, bro. If don't nobody want to jump in, I'm about to read something about the Yoruba. And what's funny is when you look into African cultures and pertaining to death, they fall right in line with what we're saying, y'all. So I'm not gonna try to share my screen, so y'all bear with me. I'm gonna try to read this quick passage. It's dealing with death according to the Yoruba. One of their traditions they believe is that and maybe that may need to be for a different discussion. But they do read a lot. So I'm gonna read something dealing with death. It says, death is not a strange phenomenon among the Yoruba. The Yoruba belief that everybody's going to die is reviewed in one of the sayings that I can't speak that language, so I'm not gonna try to say what it is, because I can't pronounce it, so I'm not even gonna do it to myself. Right? But it says that everybody born into this world is bound to die. It is only existence in heaven that is permanent. The Yoruba cultural belief considers death as a separation of the soul from the body. And Awa and Dopamine further emphasizes this when they wrote, but the people believe that death is only a transition. We all saying that death is a transition. This is what they say. They believe that death is only a transition. It is only a means of passing from the world of men, which is the world of where we at, flesh, right, and to the world of spirits. Man, as we have seen, is made up of physical, tangible body and personality soul, which is the real human essence. People believe that when death occurs, the personality soul, which is the spiritual substance, the essential person, is separated from the physical body. The physical body decays, while the personality soul returns to the source of being from whom it comes. Now, this is a quote dealing with the Yoruba, and it's saying the same thing that we said. We're all saying the same thing. I can go into the Akan too, if y'all want me to, so I read some passages of what they say. But all this stuff is very similar, basically saying that we all come from a spirit world. We are gods having a human experience, and that's what it all boils down to. And they also believe in reincarnation. The same reason Brother Nabat and a couple other brothers have said that, you will come back until you complete it, that you will be reincarnated back until you have fulfilled your mission. So this is something that is a universal thought as far as when we die, that, some of us may come back to complete our mission, but if we already have, we return back. And this is universal. I don't know who that is. Hold on. But this is universal as far as us coming back. But it seems like in this Western society or this Western world that we still die is the end. That it's the end of this, which is the end of this. But the heaven and hell thing play over our head. And when they're dealing with the Akan, they don't even have a word for devil. They don't have a word for devil. I think the word is abusum. And it just means your lower side or your lower self. They don't. So the concept of heaven and hell is irrelevant to them. They don't have a concept of heaven and hell because they don't have a concept of a devil. They just have a concept of your evil side or your lower self, as you would say in Kemet, your lower self. And so when you live in a world wherein you may not have a word for devil, then your whole concept, you're not gonna have a concept of heaven or hell. You get what I'm saying? So, it's interesting when you look on the continent and what their belief systems are, and then you add it up to what we're saying, everything falls right in line with one another. So, like Nabat said other show ago, I think like maybe the last show, like we all got pieces of the puzzle. Everybody got pieces of this puzzle. And, you know, we all just trying to put our pieces and make sure it fits so we can paint this picture right. So once we can understand death, the concept of death or the reality of the situation, then we can go about our business and dealing with defending ourselves with a concept of not worrying about what may happen because, you know, we understand the intent said. You know, it's just another, and I always believe that even in the church, man, like if you listen to what they say, you're gonna live in heaven or hell forever. So if you're gonna live somewhere forever, then obviously you can't be dead. Like if you live somewhere forever, you have to be living. So even they say you're living in heaven or you're living in hell, it's still a state of living. So even in that sense, you see all, you know, and then you have those that say, well, you know, my children carries on my DNA. You get what I'm saying? Your children get 16 chromosomes from the father, 16 chromosomes from your mama. You know what I'm saying? So even with that, a part of you, meaning your DNA, still lives on with your children. You know, but y'all can jump in, man. I'm just talking.
That fear, though, brother. That fear, brothers and sisters. That fear is what's killing us. You know, that fear, not knowing, and indoctrination. Then you got the burn and it's rocks for all your life. You know what I mean? All this crazy stuff, man. It's really guided us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna add on to your brother Nail. It is like I think some other people alluded to this also. It is an issue. It is a thing of fear because over here in this Western world, over here like in North wilderness of North America, basically, man, on a lot of the far reaches of the corner of the earth, you know, this Western way of thinking has pretty much dominated everything. You know, like spread of Christianity and other stuff, like it's dominated. And so when you start looking at the whole kind of you all are saying, we have been pretty much taught if you don't do X, Y, Z, you're going to hell. You know, thou shalt not kill, because if you kill, you're going to hell. I mean, you can repent or whatever, you know, obviously, you know, you can repent, but they have like all these things over top of us, and us as black people, like we hold them things to be true. We hold them values, man. And one thing, like with us, just as a people, man, if we get a hold on to something, Christianity or wasn't what it was to me until I, you know, just from my study, until black people got a hold of it. You know, we started doing like holy dances and doing all these things in church, and this here and that with the spirit. We taking this stuff and taking it to the extreme. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's not. We have been taught this stuff is not our culture, but we literally embody that. You get what I'm saying? And so if you believe in that, nobody wants to go to hell. So if somebody come and slap you in your face and say, well, I guess I should turn the other cheek. I guess I should. You know, that vengeance is not mine. Vengeance is the Lord. I wait on to the Lord for God to come and fight my battles. And if you have been risen your whole entire life that way, you know, if you 30 have been taught, and this stuff has been taught to you all down generations, and your whole community believe in it. You go to, you know, the Pledge of Allegiance, it alludes to Christianity, all this stuff, it promotes that. So it becomes very, very hard for one of us to go outside of that, because, and Brother Ned, you and I have these conversations, when you do stuff outside of that, you become against the norm then. You become an outsider. And no one wants that, man. Everybody wants to be accepted. No, and you get what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be accepted. So who wants to go out here and, like, literally, like if someone did something to a family member of yours, you went and retaliated and you killed. Vengeance was not yours. Vengeance was God. You shouldn't put wrath in your own hands. You shouldn't do that. But at the same thing, the very people who gave that to you, they don't even believe that themselves. Because what they tell you that you shouldn't do, they do every single day.
Right.
Every single day. You get what I'm saying? So, but anyway, man, you know, I think Brother Neb had brought up the whole fear, or Brother Stu had brought up the whole fear of why we fear certain things. This stuff had just been invited to us, man. You know, they tell us about the boogeyman, you know, the boogeyman. And if,
spell, man, like spell. You know?
Right. And then, you know, in our nation, the guys on earth, it'll tell you to show and prove. To show and prove this to me. If you can't show and prove it to me through some type of way, then why must I submit to that or believe something that you don't even know for a factuality yourself? It makes no sense. And so, but yeah, that's my piece on.
I wanted to say something about that fear. You know, like I was saying before, you know, it's we getting so tied up with this European way of living. You know what I'm saying? They didn't know what the ancient ancestors was teaching, and they was always scared of what they did not know of. You know what I'm saying? So just like I said, we basically just taking on their nature, way of life. You know what I'm saying? They fear, you know what I'm saying, the unknown. We never feared the unknown because we knew what it was. They didn't know what it was. You know what I'm saying? We had to teach them, you know what I'm saying, what it is. And still to this day now they fear it. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of things that you know what I'm saying, these people are doing, you know what I'm saying, with this religious stuff. And they want to talk bad about, you know what I'm saying, our spiritual rituals. Talking about voodoo and, you know what I'm saying, demons and all that. Come on, it's not even all about that, you know what I'm saying? You just living the life of the Europeans. They fear something that they did not know of. So basically, you got to kind of look at like slavery time. What happened in slavery? You know what I'm saying? They enforced us into this religious stuff. They said if you didn't deal with this religious stuff, we're gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? So they got feared into the religious. And not just only feared into the religious, they wanted them, you know what I'm saying, to believe and honor and respect them. So we got whooped, hanged, killed, all types of stuff. So it had to been the fear that was implanted into us, you know what I'm saying, to know about this thing called death. Basically, I just see it coming from a lot of that slavery. I'm gonna pass it on.
All right, Raobat. Also, I wanted to on that same topic of fear. Well, the main thing that plays a part in that is the mind and the thoughts. And in this same scroll, our master teacher explained how fear and the thoughts that we have actually plays a part on our soul and our spirit and its destination in the afterlife as well. He says here, remember, what a person thinks comes upon them. Belief in hell after you die, and you will create your own hell. 110. The body restricts, yet the akal mind does not. You cannot alter your fakarat thoughts. If you believe and think it, zakor, remember, the black race thoughts move at the speed of 24 million miles a moment. So before you can change the thoughts, you're in that state of mind. So what this is saying that you cannot change your thoughts after you die. You can change them now. But once your soul and your spirit separates from the physical body, whatever thought form, whatever frequency, whatever consciousness you're vibrating on, that will determine where your spirit rests, what path or what direction your soul and your spirit goes, what you actually manifest is what I mean. And he explains it here that so once they die, meaning Caucasians and religious people who teach religious doctrine about hell, about a burning fire, about suffering in the afterlife, he says in 112, so once they die, they transport their spirit to the hell's fire that they believe in by their religion faster than a twinkling. And the Adamites' thoughts move at 24 million miles a second. So as opposed to ours thoughts move at 24 million miles a moment. Theirs is a second, which is double the time. A moment is half of a second. It's half the time of a second because we existed first. Their first point in time dealt with a second. And being that this is the case, what they think, they manifest it in the blink of an eye. He says it here. He says, slower than a moment, yet they cannot change what they believe about going to hell after death, after their 1,000 years encaged here on earth, haunting whites as ghosts. Once you accept and believe what their Bible and Quran has to say is your judgment for any and all sins, then when you die, you will transport your spirit to the place you create as hell, just as you do in dreams and nightmares. So the thoughts and the fears that, like the brother was saying, that they gave and passed on to us in slavery was a tool by which they were able to entrap many of our ancestors' spirits here to this physical plane. And what we must just keep in mind is that it's those thought forms, it's those beliefs, it's those faiths of hell's fire, or even a heaven of a God sitting in thrones and angels. All of these concepts deal with the strength of the mind. And most religious people, because of the guilt that they've been told have consequences, they end up manifesting a hell more quickly than they are able to manifest a heaven in their own minds. If this is making sense to everybody, but that's what I want to do.
Yeah, peace in the body. I want to jump right in behind you, bro, because what you saying is exactly what I've said. Because You know, we can say that Jesus ain't real, but to this 60% of African Americans that believe in Jesus, they have manifested Jesus. Because if we are gods having a human experience, that means that which we think we can manifest. And if you got 25 million people thinking that there's a Jesus, there's a heaven, there's a hell. If you got 25, 30 million people thinking this, and their reality, they have manifested that Jesus, their heaven and their hell.
Fact.
And I've always said that. Now, I've said it because I believe that what we think we bring into reality. And I know in my life, you know, a lot of times I think it before it's real. And I can just tell you many instances, all of us can tell us instant starts with a thought. And once that thought is planted and you feed it, and it's like a seed. You give it water, you give it some sunlight, and you give it some time, that seed gonna start growing. And depending on what that seed is, whatever it's meant to grow, if it's meant to be an apple tree, you're gonna start, you know what I'm saying? If it's a weed plant, no matter what the plant is, you put that water and you put that sunlight, that seed is gonna sprout. And I really believe that. And I got a lecture on this about, you know, the fact that all these people is thinking this, that, and what you said it goes in line with it. It might not be exactly, but I really believe it goes in line with it. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to piggyback real quick. What you're saying is facts, and it deals mostly with the mind's eye, the third eye, the mind's eye, that, you know, religious people, because of the beliefs, because of the religious texts, they envision, you know, they're able to manifest the Jesus. You see what I'm saying? You know, and this is how some people will say that, you know, Jesus came to me, or the Virgin Mary came to me, or the angel Michael came to me. And you might ask them, well, how do you know that this is these individuals? But it has to do with the mind's eye and the doctrine that they have been educated with. You see what I'm saying? It has and that deals with the positive and the negative. But in most cases, the more detrimental effect on the souls and spirits of our people. And they understand the power of this. But yeah, it definitely deals with the thoughts and the mind's eye. So, you know, a person can manifest, you know, or see certain, let's say, religious figures based off of.
Hey, I'm gonna say one thing. It's, out of all the religions, one religion ain't scared though. That's some damn Muslims. You know what I mean? They ain't scared of that. But they promised the 40 wives, right? You know what I'm saying? So they looking at paradise. So they ain't scared of that. You know what I mean? Most Christians scared to go to hell and all that. But the Muslims, they ain't scared of that, man. Out of all the religions, they're the bravest ones, you know?
Now, let me give you a minor disclaimer. I'm sorry to cut you off there. I want to give you a minor disclaimer about that. Now, according to our government, quote unquote, they ain't afraid to die. All right. Now, we do know, because I was in the military and I went to Iraq. I was in Kirk. So we do know that everything the military say ain't real now. Now, you got some go-getters over here. Trust and believe. You got some go-getters. In a while, they go out and they take everybody with them that's around them. Now, I believe you got some go-getters over there. But as far as saying, because we say this, I've said this before, that yeah, the Arabs, you know, they ain't afraid to die. But like, we got brothers around here that ain't afraid to die either. And I don't really think the religion plays that big of a role in it. And I do know that they train people. Like, if you're trained to do this, like a lot of them bombings that they talk about. You see, this is my thing. Like, when it comes to the government, either we're going to believe everything, because you know everything ain't the truth, but you know everything ain't a lie either. Or is everything, you know what I'm saying? So it's really hard to pick and choose what you're going to believe from what they tell us. Because one minute they line out the side of their mouth, then the next minute, you know, you feel like, well, I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard. But just from being in the streets, don't see them like, no, I don't see them no different than you see a regular brother, man. I'm just keeping it up. I don't, like, even when I was in Korea, I've dealt with Arabs. Like, I'm going to tell you, I've robbed them. When I was in the army, we robbed them. And, you know, shit, we robbed them for hash because we couldn't find no weed when we was in Korea. So the Arabs had the hash. So I'm keeping a buck with you. So while we was over there, you know what I'm saying, got to the point where I ain't had no money. We took the hash from them. You know what I'm saying? And it was just me being streets, you know what I'm saying? But they threatened, I kill before we kill again. You know? But they ain't want no strapping, no, nah. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is like, sometimes the media can make you think something about a group of people that ain't real, man. I'm gonna tell you, listen, and we are in America to this white man. The black man in America, let me tell you something. You ain't gonna find nobody no ruthless than us. I don't care where you put us, man. If we in our lower state, you can't find nobody no ruthless than us. Now, the most people they compare to Nigerians in Africa, they compare them to us a lot. But you find us in our low, I'm telling you, we used to whoop them Arabs' ass. And I'm just telling you, we beat them up, take all their ass. Didn't even care. You know what I'm saying? And back out there the next weekend looking for them. Like, that's when I was in my low mind. You know what I'm saying? But they make you think that nah, man, let me tell you something. These people that strapping you go talk to a regular Arab. A regular Arab, you know what I'm saying? Listen, they ain't ready to stand, but you'll find some. Just like you'll find some over here. They'll be like, you know what, I'm tired of this shit. I'm out, I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying? You find a couple of them, they just wig out. You'll find them everywhere in the world. But I think they have labeled them, so we say that. But when you actually sit down and talk to them, like, I ain't mean to jump on that conversation, but
I can feel that.
But
Sean,
you know,
Sean, what's up, Sean?
but you know, even on that topic of you know, Islam or you know, Muslims, I think that it still deals with the indoctrination because if you read throughout the Quran, it still teaches that although it teaches for Muslims not to have fear of death, right? That is one principle that's taught in Islam is to not fear death. But at the same time, on the flip side, throughout the Quran, all it is threats. Not all it is. I won't say all it is. It's a lot of threats. It's a lot of threats of hellfire. You know what I mean? Being sent to hell, and that concept of fear is still permeates Islam. It still permeates the minds of Muslims. So although they may not fear dying, they do fear hell, and that concept is still ingrained inside of the minds of those believers, and in some cases, not in all, that is the motivation for their practice, meaning their motivation for the practice of to hell. Some of them practice and do it because they fear that if they don't, they will get burnt, right? As opposed to good character. So in ancient Egypt, we had different principles, different traditions that we taught to our people. Yes, we had a concept of different paths, or like let's say the weighing of the soul. We had these different concepts, but it dealt more with again, the mind's eye. It dealt more with the mind's eye, and that's why in ancient Egypt we utilized the images. You see what I'm saying? And we showed positive images more so than the negative imagery. Whereas opposed to in Western society, religion is advertised behind fear. Believe this, or this is going to happen to you. You see what I'm saying? And these are that's the contrast that that it has with our
Right.
It's another train of thought is it is quite natural, no matter what you've been taught, to fear that what you don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like if you don't know something, then it's quite natural to fear it. You know what I mean? Whether you're Christian, Islam, or whatever it is, it's quite natural to do so. And I'm inclined to believe that even the people that strap a bomb to themselves, I would think in a moment, at least in a brief moment, that they may have a sense of fear because they don't know, and they're about to leave the things that they'll hold dear. They think there's some hesitation, some fear that may set in there. You get what I'm saying? So to me, I think it's quite natural. It's quite natural to fear the things that you don't know. So yeah, I don't know if any of that makes sense, but to me, it's I don't think anything wrong. I don't think anything wrong with fear, as long as fear don't paralyze you to where you can't do anything. And I think what a lot of times when it comes to us, religion is used to paralyze us. You know what I'm saying? I remember having a conversation with someone, I can't remember who it was, and the conversation they asked, who do you love more, your mama or Jesus? I said, I love my mama. I love my mama. I've never met him. I don't know about him. I don't know who this person is. But out of about 5 or 6 people, I was the only one who said that. And I can't remember whoever it was that was saying about manifesting things. I don't know if it was Stuart or Nabat or Trueborn or Neb, I'm not sure who it was. again, I was outnumbered, and I held on to what I know, not what I believe. But when you get a group of people who come together and believe in something so much, man, that makes whatever they believe much more powerful. You get what I'm saying? How do you think when people go to church and they started like shout doing certain things, all these people get on one accord? You got all these spirits or energy of people that is existing in one place, man, and that jank can literally can move a mountain outside of religion. And and then also to add on to what I think Stuart was saying, black people in their lower self, like how they was over there in wherever he was dealing with the Arabs. I'll say this, man, like there are a lot of black people who are afraid. And I understand why. Again, don't nobody want to die. I understand why somebody don't want to own a gun. It's a lot of responsibility. I get it. I understand. But on the other side of it, there's a lot of people who really about that life. I'm talking about like they really, they're anybody killer. Anybody who crosses them wrong, they will bust your head to the white meat. You get what I'm saying? And then there's some people who just haven't been pushed yet. They don't know what they would do in that situation. They don't know. And there could be this straight guy every single day or a straight woman. And you take one thing away from them, and in that moment, they become something that they never thought they could become. You know, life changes people, man. In one instant, they could be very, very fearful and scary or whatever situation may be. But you take something away from them or something happened to them, and that person their whole complete thought process just changes, and they don't care no more. And to me, those are like some of the most scariest people because they don't have anything else to lose. You get what I'm saying?
Facts.
Tell me how you feel, Treat, Sin. Tell me how you feel. Sin.
Trees. Don't we got ain't a trees here?
Hey y'all, yep, I'm here.
How you doing,
I'm
Queen?
good. I'm good. How you doing?
Please.
You want to chime in?
I missed that part. What he say?
We talking about death. Our concept of death. Your concept of can be holding us back. But you know, we just getting everybody to talk about death and what is your concept of death? You know, how do you see death?
I have mixed emotions. You're born, you know, you're gonna die. I've always had a fear, I've always had a fear of like dealing with physical dead bodies, you know, going to funerals. I don't really like doing that. And I've been blessed that I haven't had a lot of people close to me, really, really close to pass until recently. So now that I've had, you know, like my grandma just died last year and my aunt, and I was close to both of them. So it hit differently. And I'm trying to come to grasp with it. I don't know. I've been waiting for them to maybe come to me, send me some signs or signals, because I wonder, you know, what happens after we die. Really, like, are we sleeping for a while? Like, I know not sleeping, but you know, I believe that our souls are still here, even after we pass away. So I don't know. No one likes death, but in some ways, you know, it could be better, you know, for a person if they're here, especially if someone's suffering. I've heard people say, you know, they wanted to die. So I don't know. I believe that our goal is to be the best people that we can be while we are living, live our, you know, best lives, be great people, be kind, be loving. And when it's our time, it's just our time. Like, for example, my aunt and uncle traveled all the way down here from Charlotte to see my grandmother, but they wouldn't come in the house. They're 84 years old. If I do pass, it's because I'm old. Don't put the coronavirus on me. Don't say that's what it was. She was like, I've been here living, you know. She was saying, come in. Well, a lot of people are saying no, go. But my grandma, she said, because of anything else, but it was my time to go. So, I don't know.
Okay, well, when you say you was asking them to come to you, do you offer them anything? Like, do you give them?
I do believe that we have a responsibility to acknowledge our ancestors. So I keep them close to me. I, at one point, had like a little altar where, you know, I had picked my grandmother's, her bracelets, and just, she loved jewelry. So I got a lot of her jewelry. So a lot of times I'll wear it in honor of her, and I talk to them. And at the same time, I want them to come, but I'm kind of like, how am I going to react if I just wake up? But I feel like I'll be calm. But yeah, I do believe that we are supposed to honor. And I talk to people that have, passed a lot of times. And I feel like sometimes I do see signs, things that reminds me of them. Or just things that happen. Like when I get a blessing, I'll thank them because I ask them for their help when I'm going through something or I need something. Like I'm in the process of doing nursing school, and they were both big supporters. Before they passed, I was, doing classes and whatnot, leading to applying to nursing school, and they were like, you're going to do it. I want you to do this. The whole time they were encouraging me. So a lot of it, like whenever I used to go take tests, I had a shirt that we had made for my aunt. I always wear it. I wear a piece of my grandma's jewelry. They used to keep water. I know they say keep like a bottle of water, a glass of water. I had that on my altar, and some days it would just be moving like crazy. And I've heard people, I believe that's like something dealing with them. And I also feel like I'm called by my ancestors. I know my grandma had like a lot of healing abilities, and that's why I'm so driven by trying to do natural remedies. It's a lot in my Native American history. A lot of my cousins kind of feel the same way. They do different things, and it's dealing with spiritual healings. Which is kind of how I got on the path, because I have one cousin. She's always like, you gotta, thank our ancestors and, do certain things for them. So I do acknowledge them often. Do you?
Oh yeah, I give my ancestors food. I feed them.
I think that's what the water was for, in a sense.
Yeah, I give them. I take them like my grandma. She used to love pineapple cakes. So whenever I go to the gravesite, I make sure I take her like pineapple, any type of pineapple drink I can think of. My grandpa used to smoke cigars, so I take him a cigar and drink. I take them what they used to like. And I just give
Okay. So do you what do you do with it once you go,
Well, before I don't want to say too much, but I just say this because it ain't nothing to hide. Before I enter the gravesite, I have to ask all of them for permission to enter because the gravesite is a holy site. So I usually offer everybody in the grave candy. So like I have like M&Ms or Skittles, and I offer it to all of them. And when I offer it to them, before I enter the grave, they have to give me permission. So usually I would get my permission through something that happens out the ordinary. Like I was there and a bird came. I think I was a hawk. I would say it was a crow came and it crowed real loud. I got my permission to enter. So like different things that I do, but I wait on something to tell me that I felt like it's man. One time I gave all of them gin. I said too much, but one time I gave all of them gin. Everybody at the grave, I gave it all to them. You know what I'm saying? That's just something I do. I got a con priestess that is my yeah, I deal with my ancestors a lot. Anybody want to jump in?
Right.
Yeah, I got my slam.
It's funny you said birds because I relate bluebirds to my grandma because I've really only used to see, and I see them more often now that she's passed. I always think it's a symbol or her, I'd be like, I see grandma, or something. But I do believe that they're still working with us, and they give us strength and they give us the things that we need, to continue our life here on earth, because we all have a purpose, and I think they help us find our purpose and make it possible, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. Ned, you want to get in?
Yeah,
What's
that was deep. We talk about field and everything. I was trying to get Sin, you still there? I know y'all heard about the black people march, the black senator, female senator up there in Michigan.
Hello?
Y'all saw that? Sin.
Yes.
Come on in. And chime on in. Wasn't you one of the ones up there? I saw your Facebook page.
Yeah.
March the senator. Hey
Thank
man,
you.
salute.
I was saying you was one of the ones who walked the senator up there to the steps. Y'all was strapped. You was one of the ones. Oh, that's peace. That's love.
Is y'all part of a group?
We're not necessarily a group. We really are just friends. We came together doing some things for the community, just feeding the community, getting school supplies, hygiene supplies for the community. Someone reached out to us about the protest that was at the Capitol. We seen a live Sarah Anthony. She was really shaken up about, everything that was going on. They were outside of their offices with guns, and they had nooses and Nazi signs and Confederate flags everywhere. So we just decided, the police, she actually reached out to the police, and they didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to acknowledge it. So we decided we were going to just escort her. So we strapped up. Didn't even know that it was going to go viral like it did. We really just escorted her, took our couple pictures, and then we left. We didn't think nothing of it. I happened to post one, and it just went from there.
Salute.
I got one small question now. Is this lady a pro-gun? Because I saw it, but haven't she been voting against gun rights?
Here's the issue. Well, here's the thing that I have to say about that. As far as whether she's pro-gun or not, it didn't really matter to us. It was the fact that there was a bunch of white supremacists with assault rifles threatening her. They were calling her. They were up in her office, and that's one of our people. It's up to us to protect them, whether we agree with everything she does or not. Because I feel like they come together, whether they have the same values about most things or not. They still come together. We need to come together like that, and we need to be protecting our own. We let little things like that divide us, and then that's why we're so separated.
So I have a quick question. So, like, these people coming up into our office, so no one, in terms of like police, did anything to protect her at all. They just was like, oh well, they didn't do anything at all.
No, basically the protesters that day had a permit to be there. Is the gist of it. So there wasn't much that they were doing. They allowed them to be in the Capitol. They were allowing them to bang on the doors and chant and all this. We seen a Facebook Live of Sarah Anthony and a few other. They didn't know what to do. They asked the chief of police for an escort to and from the Capitol, and they just didn't. So over the weekend, Sarah Anthony was getting some threatening calls and stuff, and she reached out again, and they still wouldn't provide her with an escort. So we decided.
My last question: did people threaten you all too, or no?
No, we haven't really.
When y'all was walking up, nobody said anything to y'all. Or just kind of got quiet.
They kind of got quiet. They are always armed.
I went. Like, oh my God!
Exactly.
What?
So yeah, it wasn't really much. They just looked scared, kind of.
See, we the guys. You know what I mean? You going in with no fear? What can they do? You know what I mean?
Duck and hide.
Yeah, they're saying this is gonna be on NCRBGZ production on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Tell your people in Michigan and bring some people on. Now, I'm not rushing you right now because we got more questions. You know what I mean?
Okay.
About set the fence and what you RBG is North Carolina RBGZ Productions. Tell your people about it.
Have anybody else reached out to y'all since then about possibly escorting them?
Yeah, we've had a couple representatives reach out to us.
That's what's up, yeah.
And so I have one other question. What was the police reaction to y'all? Were they kind of like somewhat threatening to you all, or they just kind of like they didn't really care?
It was weird because my boyfriend was one of the ones that helped escort Sarah Anthony, and he has teardrops on his face, and he's like real tattooed. And when we walked inside of the Capitol, they just got quiet. We walked her to the conference room, and then we walked out, and we were on the Capitol steps, and they sent the black cop out to kind of like ask about the scopes on our rifles and stuff. We're like, what? But really, they were just trying to see if they actually seen teardrops. So they were like just kind of checking us out. But it was funny that they sent the black cop to do it.
Of course. See, we got
always
to write arms too now. We got to write about arms. And I tell everybody, like I told you on the page, saying, hey, get your concealed permit. I don't need to. I got
Right.
Jesus. You know what I mean? But Jesus too. You get sword, right?
Hey, listen, when Jesus was about to get crucified, according to the Bible, when they was about to put Jesus on the cross, Jesus told his people to get prepared to fight. I know the bot know the scripture because he get those scripts, but Jesus got weak. Jesus was ready to fight before time. So listen, let me tell you something.
Right. Exactly.
Obama said the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a
That's
gun.
right. So we the original Americans. I know everybody keeps on the American Indians, but we were here before even they were here. So we are indigenous to this country. This is our country. But that's another story, another time.
That's great.
Oh yeah, I
stuff,
was talking. My phone was muted, but go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I don't. Yeah, there were a few. I'll say I don't know. I'm not going to say who was here first, but I'm not going to say that Native Americans were the only race of people here when Europeans officially came and took over. But I don't know. I don't know exactly Who to say
Right.
who was here first? Yeah.
But back to the we were saying though, y'all went in there with no fear, and that's salute. You know, it should go viral. It should go more viral.
Yeah.
To wake other people up that's scared.
Yeah, I want to congratulate y'all also on that because that was that was a power move and it needed to be shown to the world. And so I did read an article that the dwindling that black gun clubs are really starting to on the rise right now. A lot of black people are starting to join gun clubs and getting their permission. Starting to carry firearms legally.
Yeah, we just recently joined a gun club, and we've been pushing to pushing for black people to get their carriers permit, or we have open carry here in Michigan. So open carry when you're 18 until you can get your license when you're 21. We're trying to put something together like some information modules where people can come and get information about gun training and get their license and join a gun club. That's to be armed at all times. I'm tired of seeing hashtags where unarmed black or brown person has been killed by a white vigilante, a wannabe vigilante. Like, I'm over it. And I'm over all the headlines talking about, unarmed, people do this. And I'm just like, why are y'all unarmed? We don't have that luxury.
Right.
Actually, when we started our organization, we clicked up with the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, and we was trying to merge with them, but they didn't want us to merge. So we would have had to been the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, so we didn't merge one. But also North Carolina is an open carry state, also, and it's very imperative for those who don't have the F's on their record to apply to get their permit and guns and open carry. So. And even if you have a record, if I could just tell people for your own reference, if your charge is not nonviolent, you still can get it. As long as you don't have a violent charge, and if it's been over a certain amount of years, you can still apply to get your permit and you fulfill the carry.
Yeah, here too. We're trying to talk to people about expungements. If you have like one felony, you can get an expungement as long as it wasn't a violent crime. So we've really been pushing for people to check into that and try to get records expunged so they can conceal legally.
Yeah, North Carolina, the expungement period is 10. I think it's either 10 or 15. But if you got a nonviolent charge, even if it's a felony, nobody get it expunged, you can get it. And some of them, if they, I think it may be 15. No, it's 10. It's 10, matter of fact. But if some of them, if it's over 10 years and it was nonviolent, let's say you got a possession of narcotics and it's a felony charge, but it's nonviolent and it's been over 10 years, you can still get your permit to carry. And the key, and where we stay at, is the sheriff have to sign off. See, that's the holdup. If the sheriff or your county don't sign off on it, then you can't get it. But if nobody down, because it's a Republican-ran state right now in North Carolina, and since it's Republican-ran, we need to take advantage of it as far as gun rights. But the Republicans are pro-gun rights. So we need to be taking full advantage of it in North Carolina. If you hear, as far as trying to get them. Because I tried, I was almost there, but the sheriff was signing off because I have a felony. But this goes to putting people in office who gonna look out. You get what I'm saying? Because the sheriff can sign off for it if he want to. But you get what I'm saying? But he ain't right now. But, so I'm hearing stories that he's signing off for the good old boys, letting them get theirs. But the people in the hood, he giving us a hard time. But it goes back to us making sure we get people elected. But hold up, we gotta get back to the topic at hand. This is the topic at hand, actually.
Exactly.
With what's going on, we need to arm ourselves. Arming ourselves and being able to defend ourselves at all costs is very important right now, actually. True Boy, you want to jump in?
I'm gonna say one thing before you want to jump in. I'm gonna say one thing. We got